I got a question on my mind today, and maybe you guys can help. So leave me a comment at the bottom. Go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to click that bell icon so that you're notified when our new videos are available. But my question today is about the Ten Commandments. Why do Christians insist on teaching the Ten Commandments, having them put in schools and posted in public places, when in fact they don't obey the Ten Commandments? Not 100%. Well, you think differently? Well, let's look at them. You can actually find the Ten Commandments in the Bible in Exodus 20, 2 through 17, or in Deuteronomy 5, 6 through 21. Um, I think we all know the story of how the Israelites left Egypt. Moses led them to Mount Sinai, where God gave him the two tablets with the Ten Commandments on it. Well, in those two passages that I highlighted, we find the Ten Commandments. And I want to go through one by one and use the litmus test. Do the Christians actually follow these Ten Commandments? So, our first uh, commandment is, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. Well, if you've ever gone to a Christian church, there's a lot of talk about Jesus. There's a lot of praise. There's a lot of worship for Jesus. Christians believe that Jesus was 1/3 of God. Um, it's a doctrine called the Trinity. But where did this actually come from? Is it any anywhere in the Bible? Anywhere in the Bible? No. The doctrine of the Trinity was actually developed in the 2nd century by one of the church fathers, uh, Tertullian. It remained a controversial topic for Christians until the Nicene Creed in 325 at the Council of Nicaea. They still hadn't completely solidified this, so it did take other councils after the Nicene Creed, but this is where it really started to become main theology for Christianity. So it's not biblical, it's actually a law of man versus the law of God. Um, there are actually quite a few places in the Bible that explicitly lets us know that God and Jesus are not the same. We have Mark 1:11, you know, when Jesus is getting baptized. God speaks from out of heaven as Jesus is pulled from out of the water. And God says, "You are my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." You will also find that in Matthew 3:17 and Luke 3:22. So Jesus on earth was speaking to God in heaven. Can't be the same person. Then we have the prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. Mark 14:36, Matthew 26:39, and Luke 22:42. Well, in Mark, Jesus says, Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. Matthew puts it, Oh, my Father, if it is possible. Notice the different wording here. Jesus isn't exactly sure if God can actually do this. But he says, Oh, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. In Luke, it's pretty straightforward. Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. So Jesus is already dividing himself from God. And now, unless you believe that God has three personalities and the Son, 1/3 of God, was outvoted by the other 2/3 of God, the Holy Spirit and the Father. And so that cup didn't pass away from him. But we read further into these stories, and in Mark 15:34, as Jesus is getting ready to die on the cross, he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? He's calling for his God. In Matthew 27:46, it's the same wording. My God, why have you forsaken me? Now, in Luke 23:46, Jesus is quoted as saying, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. It's not into our hands I commit our spirit. It's into your hands I commit my spirit. So, again, putting Jesus with God means you're breaking the first commandment. But okay, that's just one, right? One out of 10, you're still doing pretty good, right? Okay. Well, let's go into the second commandment. You shall not make for me. for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. All right. Well, now, if you go into many of your churches, you have statues of Jesus, pictures of and statues of Mary that people bow and to, people bow to, uh, kiss the feet of. And now, if you go pretty much into any church, there's a cross. It's a symbol. Now, this is a symbol of death. Christians uh, praise the suffering and death of their Savior. But there's supposed to be a third step to that, right? He's supposed to rise. So, wouldn't a better sign or symbol at least be the empty grave? Not the instrument of death? Well, you can kind of look back into the history of Christianity and figure out why an instrument of death would fit. But that's for another video. So we now have statues and pictures and signs that are venerated and people bow to. So sounds like commandment number 2 is not being obeyed. All right. It's still not bad though. It's really not that bad yet, right? Okay. Let's be cool. Um, you know, we're still 8 out of 10. So, that's 80%, right? Um, if we were in school, that would be passing, right? Okay. All right. So let's let's go down to the third commandment. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Well, that's kind of that's kind of sketchy. I mean, if my name is, if you believe that I am your God, you would actually call me by my name. You wouldn't give me a different name, right? You would you would call my name. if my name is Yeshua, why then would you call me Jesus? Well, I mean, that's that doesn't sound good to me. I don't know if that's actually breaking the rule, but I mean, if you're going to call on a deity, I think it would behoove you to actually get his name right. I don't know. Uh, but let's let's start. Let's go on down to the fourth commandment. Observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your maidservant, male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and female servant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. now, now, no matter what you think, how you feel, this one is kind of uh, a no-brainer. The Sabbath day, as it is uh, mentioned in the commandment, is the seventh day. If you look on your calendar, you will notice that the seventh day on your of the week is Saturday. Yet Christians worship on Sunday. Why? Ever wondered why Christians uh, worshiped on Sunday instead of Saturday? Well, it's actually pretty simple. It was actually outlawed to worship on Saturday. The Catholic Church decided to de-Judaize Christianity. And so, in an attempt to do so, Constantine, who worshiped on Sunday because he was a sun worshiper, declared that Sunday would be the Christian day of rest. So it seems that blatantly the fourth commandment is just thrown away. Discarded, but completely disobeyed. Now, I'm going to go through the next few because now we're at 70%, right? So I'm going to go through the rest of uh, these commandments pretty fast. Uh, but it starts with you shall not murder. I'm sorry, I missed one. Honor your father and your mother, as the Lord your God has commanded you, that your days may be long and that it may be well with you in the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Then we get to you shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. I'm going to go on a limb and say we're down to 65% on that one because a lot of things that people do on a regular life basis would actually be considered adultery. But I'm not going to completely condemn mankind for this. So I will give them a half check on this one. So we're down to 65% of the commandments being obeyed. You should not steal. You should not bear witness, false witness against your neighbor. You should not covet your neighbor's wife, and you should not desire your neighbor's house, his field, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. Okay, some of those I'm going to um, I'm going to chalk up as obvious. I mean, you're supposed to honor your mom and your dad. I mean, you're supposed to love your mom and your dad. They raised you. Uh, and in their later years, you take care of them. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer. Uh, don't murder. I don't think we even really have to mention that, right? Don't steal. Again, do we really have to talk about that? Don't bear false witness. Don't lie on folks. And don't co- covet what your neighbor got. Now, we do know that uh, the Israelites were actually given 613 laws. However, the Christians like those 10 and are only at a 65% obedient to those laws. It it just crazy that Christians really want us to be indoctrinated and push the 10 commandments when they don't. I mean, is this one of those situations? You know how some parents will say, "Do as I say, not as I do." Type type deal. Is that what this is, or are people really that blind that they themselves who are pushing for these 10 are actually not obeying them themselves? Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, would you say that Christians follow the 10 commandments? I mean, of course, I know that we're all human. Uh, everybody makes mistakes. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is blatantly this does not apply. Um, but yeah, leave me a comment at the bottom. Let me know your thoughts. I do ask that everybody is respectful in the comments. Um, I will try to engage as much as possible with everyone's comments. And but if there is no respect in the comment, I will absolutely not engage. Um, but yeah, go ahead and subscribe. Click on that notification bell and leave us a comment. And as always, always aspire to ascend.